One of the highlights of the YOU breakfast every year is definitely the speakers. Today, we have two members of our extended YOU family who have graciously agreed to share their personal stories with us. Our first keynote speaker this morning will approach the theme of family by sharing his story as a father, watching his son struggle through some very difficult circumstances. Rod Skinkle is a well-respected business professional in our community, and he will share a very personal story about a life-altering experience in his own family. Rod will tell us how YOU was an integral stopping point in a story that continues to unfold.
I will indeed be sharing a story with you this morning, but I thought it helpful to provide you with a brief bit of background for context. As Rick and Megan have said, my name is Rod Skinkle. I'm not a native Londoner, but I've been here almost 30 years, raised my family here, built a business here, co-founded a second one called Academica Group. We provide content, research, and consulting services for higher education across Canada. I was asked to share some perspective with you this morning through the lens of a family member, as a father to my son, Sean Skinkle. As you might have guessed, I had some concerns, some misgivings about sharing of such a personal journey. My son's journey, really, not mine. But Sean and I talked about this, and we agreed that while difficult, there was nevertheless some important learning here for those of you who are open to it, and certainly an intimate perspective and an insight into the very real impact that YOU is having on real people in your community. In fact, Sean and I co-authored this talk. So, since a picture is worth 1,000 words, let me introduce this handsome young man as my son, Sean Skinkle. At this point in his journey, he's about 23 years old. He's 3/4 of the way through university honors degree at the University of Toronto, where he's doing a dual major in environmental studies and equity studies. If you permit Dad a bragging moment, Sean graduated high school with one of the highest averages in Ontario, earning numerous scholarships, including the prestigious President's National Scholarship to the University of Toronto. Sean's also actively involved in his community. Most recently, he's been delighted to have been appointed to the board of Harvest Noon, which is a food cafe and cooperative in Toronto that focuses on food justice issues. With all of his spare time, Sean, like his father and his brother, is an outdoor enthusiast. I'm incredibly proud of Sean, and I know that he is strong now and will find his own success and happiness. Sean's journey, while rife with privilege, has not always been so easy, and he has had to stare adversity in the eyes in ways that you might never have anticipated. He eventually ended up on the steps of YOU, asking for someone to give him a chance. You see, when Sean was born, we welcomed this beautiful, young, new life into our arms and named her Stephanie. For when Sean was born, he was born biologically female. Now, many people never have to consider how young gender conformity begins from how you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, and even to a significant degree what you talk and think about. You will not be surprised, though, that from birth onward there are gender expectations of children by others, and they're recognized and internalized by those children from birth on, basically. What you may be surprised, however, to understand is that if you are trans, gay, or just slightly different, gender can be difficult and confusing as young as 4 or 5 years old. But thankfully, our children are usually filled with such energy and such enthusiasm and such innocence. They are not judgmental at that age. Our child loved playing sports. He was particularly good in baseball and football with the boys. He was also academically strong. But the tough girl tomboy thing only works so long. Do you remember puberty and the early teenage years? I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too wide, I'm too skinny. For my child, who is growing into the body and gender that they didn't identify with, that they didn't understand. The pressures from family and friends and society to be everything that he wasn't were suffocating. As a young boy in a girl's body, he felt he had no place and that he was living a lie every day. And while popular with the outsiders, Sean survived some unimaginable bullying and assault. The confusion and anger at this time led to serious self-harm and substance abuse. We confiscated drugs, knives, and alcohol. But my child was strong, and he continued to fight alongside others who were pushed out. And the anger, one of the things that we as parents notice the most, was, in hindsight, a critical survival attribute. I knew in my heart what a dangerous time this was, as did his mother. Of course, we tried to help and we tried to connect in various ways, but I did not understand. And I did not know what to do. So, the thing is that neither did Sean, for how was he to know? When the adults provided no guidance, when adult society tries to hide and dismiss everything that that doesn't fit our experience or our comfort zone or that makes us question ourselves. What I dream for these children is that we can change society to offer more hope, to bring diversity out of shame and hiding, and to provide education and role models that they need in order to understand who they are, all that they have to offer, and their place in our society. Things do get better. After all, we humans are so much more than our differences, including my son. At 17, Sean made a bold decision. It was scary and difficult for us as parents. But in search of more happiness, he left school, despite doing well in school and his love of learning. He moved out on his own and he began the challenging process of transitioning from female into the male that he knew he was. Outside of school, he had a place among a great close group of friends, and he had the support of the LGBT support group here in London. You see, this enabled him to focus on finding work and playing and focusing on his goal of paying for his transition, an expensive process, and a process for which you pretty much have to leave this country. He needed this before he could go on with other dreams of changing the world. Even though we had some ideas, it was at this time and with a plan and independence that he felt safe to come out to family and friends as trans. When he told me, I felt many things, most of all worry for him, but also uncertainty and maybe even loss. Would I lose the daughter that I loved? But metaphorically, this is when my son, Sean, took me by the hand and led me. He explained what would happen. He explained what to expect. He even explained how others would probably react. And my uncertainty grew into resolve when I started to see something I hadn't seen in a long time: hope, a sense of future. I wish I could tell you that it got easier now, but this is only the beginning of a whole new battle with society to be welcomed as a young man in a culture where gender deviance is highly contested. Our entire lives are shaped by this male-female gender binary, creating a hard world for those in the wide space in between. My son began by changing his name to Sean and taking the middle name of Charles after his grandfather, Sean Charles Skinkle. Now, despite your skills, your experience, or your desire to get ahead, one of the challenges that Sean now faced was the difficulty of finding work. If you're genderqueer, if you're out of school, if you have inconsistent identification, or all three, this is a very difficult challenge. Now we come to Youth Opportunities Unlimited. YOU, I want you to understand, is a kind of oasis. Here, youth are accepted. And this is first and foremost, because acceptance is the food and water of mental health. But it doesn't stop there. In addition to providing the basic needs and acceptance, youth here are provided something else that's absolutely essential to us all at that age: responsibility. Responsibility is that opportunity to succeed, to feel the power of self-confidence. Sean had heard about YOU among the peers that he knew, the kids out there, some on the street, some working, some sharing low-income housing, some living in insecure places. Sean applied and was accepted and was working as a cook in the kitchen program and was soon reaching for more responsibility. Ultimately, he worked there 18 months and became a team leader for enterprise services, making high-budget sales and mentoring clients. All this before being inspired to return to school. Sean has said that working there was one of the best opportunities he had ever received to help himself and others, and that the people there became like family. It wasn't that YOU saved Sean's life or anything like that, for at this point Sean knew what he needed to do. He had the love and support of his family, but YOU provided the platform that allowed him to thrive, to find his stride, and to rebuild the confidence that had been systematically eroded. I cannot express this too strongly, and I don't believe I can overstate its importance. You see, Sean is just one story, one young person of so many. While there, Sean saw many youth facing institutional barriers to employment of all kinds, from race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, disability, income, family status, each with his or her own unique story. And each life is important as my son's. YOU is unique in this community as a place that provides acceptance and support, as well as challenge and opportunity, that combination. It's for so many youth. I thank you for your support of this amazing and vital community resource.